Hi everyone, my name is Jody. I'm here with Bluebee Counseling Services and my friend Brandy, who's going to be kind of participating in this little class I've got for you guys today. So, we're starting this new series, and it's called Movement for Healing. And what we're going to be looking at is how we can use movement and somatic awareness during when we feel big emotions or when we're feeling anxious or depressed, and some different exercises that we can use to kind of, work on those emotions and work through them and release them through our body. And so this first week is kind of just going to be a little bit of an overview on where we're going with this course and kind of how our nervous system functions, and how to notice our feelings and emotions in our bodies. Um, so this week we're just kind of talking all about the mind body connection. Next week we'll be looking at movement and anxiety and how anxiety kind of presents as physical sensations in our bodies. Week 3, we'll be looking at movement and depression. Week 4, movement and trauma. Week 5, we'll be looking at using movement to maintain joy in our lives. And then week 6, we'll look at using movement with other evidence based practices. So, super excited to be going on this journey with you guys. Any thoughts on
I'm excited.
that?
I think these are going to be really great. I mean, when we're talking about body mind connection, I think that there is no better way than to have, awareness around what our mind is thinking and the thoughts how it controls and works with our body
Mhm.
sensations and how that influences our behaviors.
Mhm.
And so I'm really excited to see how we can get up and get moving in order to allow a little bit of a connection to happen with our
Yeah.
body and mind.
Yeah, super excited. It's also fascinating. So, the our mind and our body are not separate. I think that we kind of go through our lives treating them kind of as separate entities, but they're actually not. Our mind influences our body, and our body influences our mind. And the physical sensations that we experience, tension that we experience in our bodies, can often be the result of something that we have experienced mentally, and that's just how it manifests in our bodies. And so it's important to recognize that the two are super interconnected in all aspects of life.
I really like that.
Yeah. Um, so, the first place to start when we talk about mind body connection is with the nervous system. It's a system in our body that receives and processes information and sends signals to activate responses. So, if your body says, "I'm thirsty," then it sends a signal to your hand to reach for a cup of water and to take a sip from the cup. And then when it feels fulfilled, it sends a notice to put the water down. That's kind of a basic overview of how the nervous system works. It helps with sensory processing, motor control, cognitive function, emotional regulation, and maintaining balance in our system, called homeostasis, which is kind of when all of our systems are balanced.
Do you find it interesting, Jody, that sometimes I love how you talk about how when I want a glass of water and my body will
Mm-hmm.
reach for a glass of water. And I think it's also interesting. Has your body ever done something without your mind knowing that you were doing it?
Yeah, when you get
Yeah.
into, like, autopilot
Yeah.
and you're just, like, going and you're like, "Wait, why did I just do
Yeah,
that?"
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I love that so much because when I think what Jody's teaching us here is to have some awareness
Mhm.
around when our body does certain things, how to bring our brain to
Mhm.
catch up with it and
Yeah.
to kind of get on board. And when our brain is there and we're recognizing it and understanding it, how to maybe slow down our body
Mhm.
or how to recognize that our body is doing certain things based on some of the emotions that our brain might
Mhm.
be having, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
It's really interesting when you start to be mindful of how your body and your mind interact on a daily basis, even like in just the sort of mundane life activities, you can just kind of take a step back and like bring some awareness to everything that you're doing. It can provide some really good insight
Yeah.
into your thought and behavior patterns. So it's
Mhm.
very fascinating stuff.
It is. And I find that I talk with my clients a lot about this when they're going through something big that's causing heavy emotions, or when they're reacting in certain
Hmm.
ways and not really recognizing it. Like I keep on having like an overstimulated thoughts towards my mother or my brother, and therefore my body is reacting. And then
Hmm.
it's same with like I'm feeling my body reacting when I drive past that place, or when I
Hmm.
do that thing, and why is it doing that, and trying to, as a therapist, to be able to connect those two and say, ooh, did you know your brain is actually thinking
Hmm.
this way, which is causing your body to react, or your body might be reacting, which is causing your brain to think
Yeah,
this way.
yeah.
And so vice versa on all those aspects is
Hmm.
like kind of playing that game of trying to figure out exactly what's going on and how to
Yeah.
keep both the body and the mind into like that
That homeostasis.
homeostasis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, So we have two different parts of the nervous system. There's the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for fight or flight, which is the response that our body goes into when it perceives a threat or some kind of danger. Um, it releases cortisol and adrenaline to take action against that threat. You'll feel an increased heart rate, and your body will get a boost of energy. And then, kind of on the flip side, is your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for your rest and digest response, which is what your body should go into when you have successfully reacted to that dangerous situation. It keeps your body calm and relaxed, and it involves the functions like digestion, healing, and growth. Those things that your body can do once it's kind of relaxed and calm and not in a state of fight or flight.
I love that. Yeah. It's a really good. I like how you have the sympathetic and the
Hmm.
parasympathetic. Sometimes we forget that we
Sometimes
have
we
those.
forget that the parasympathetic
Yeah.
nervous system exists.
It's so
Yeah, because
true.
we're just like living in fight or flight.
That's right. All the
Yeah.
time. All the time. Yeah.
Which can happen. Your nervous system can get stuck in this sympathetic nervous system place where it perceives a threat or some kind of danger, and you have the fight, flight, or freeze response. And in order for it to successfully continue through that process and to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, there needs to be a resolution. So you need to have successfully dealt with whatever that threat is. And then your body can rest and recover and be prepared to respond to the next situation.
I love that.
That's sort of the successful resolution of that response.
Who would have thought that we need resolutions in
I
order to
know.
like heal?
Who'd have thought?
Mm,
I don't know.
I don't know. But I think that's why we come into therapy, right?
Yeah.
To get those resolutions, to work through our thoughts, to
Right.
gain some ideas around why our sympathetic or our sympathetic nervous systems need to get back into collaboration and
Right.
homeostasis.
Right.
Right?
Right. It's fascinating. So when our system does get stuck, and it can get stuck in this fight, flight, or freeze response, it can become dysregulated due to trauma, chronic stress, grief, or other environmental factors. I mean, we're living in a world that is kind of stressful
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times, and so we can kind of get stuck in this sympathetic nervous system response. It can lead to anxiety, depression, fatigue, cognitive impairment, and it can also impact like bodily functions like heart rate, blood pressure, and digestion. So it's not just mental. It's not just a sort of a mental state of being. You also can see the results as physical symptoms and as chronic bodily symptoms, which
This
is
is
really
so
interesting.
fascinating. I mean, if I had any guess when I was going into therapy that I'd be dealing with a lot of people who had a lot of complications with
Hmm.
their nervous system, or with their stomach digestion, or with
Yeah.
like heart rate issues,
Hmm.
I would have been shocked. I had no idea that they are so closely,
Hmm.
tightly wound together. I see a lot of people that have a lot of complications for their issue, like their body complications that are coming into therapy to reduce some of the symptoms
Mhm.
to be able to function in
Mhm.
daily life. And so I love it that we're talking about these things. I don't think it's talked about enough. And I think the most important thing here to recognize is when I feel this way, my body does this thing.
Mhm.
And once we can kind of align that threat and danger, kind of like you're talking about, when I'm feeling that threat and danger, when I'm feeling that fear or worry or concern, when I'm feeling anxiousness, when I'm feeling sadness, when I'm feeling confusion,
Mhm.
what does my body respond and how can I recognize and understand it? I also know that working with some clients, I also have to say, ooh, look at the results tomorrow.
Mhm.
Like sometimes they don't show up today when I'm feeling stressed or I almost got in that accident. And then all of a sudden my body starts responding a little bit differently
Yeah.
tomorrow. Like, that can be some good things to like recognize that when I feel this way, I do this thing, and that like
Mhm.
will kind of help us solve some of
Yeah.
those issues that kind of come up.
Yeah, and like you said, to recognize that it sometimes you don't feel that and always immediately after
Mm-hmm.
whatever the event was. Like
Right.
it can sometimes take your body a little bit of time to catch up. So if you notice some kind of physical
Mm-hmm.
sensation, a day or two after you have encountered some kind of dangerous or threatening or stressful situation,
Mm-hmm.
think back a couple days. If you think it comes out of nowhere, maybe
Right.
think back a couple of days and see if you can map it onto
Mm-hmm.
an experience that you had a couple days ago.
I'm gonna share an experience.
Yeah.
I noticed that like I had a friend that was really upset with me one time, and I was interested how much my body responded. Like I had this pit in my gut. It didn't feel very good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really want to eat. And I also kind of got a headache because I found that my forehead was clenched or
Mm-hmm.
like my whole system kind of tightened up. And the next day, all of a sudden, like you get sensations in your digestive system. You know the ones I'm talking about, the ones that are not so great that we don't like,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of came out. And I was like, whoa, hold on. So I recognize that my body doesn't respond well to being upset when a friend like said something that
That's
was hurtful or was upset with me,
yeah.
right? And so now that I know that, now what do I do about it? Now
Mm-hmm.
I have the power now to change something and add something different,
Yeah.
which is really cool because if I didn't know about it, I can't do anything to change
Right.
it,
You
right?
can't change what you don't know.
Exactly. So now having that awareness, now I can do something kind of different and
Yeah.
cool, where otherwise I wouldn't have been able
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, and that does lead me into my next slide here. What you just were talking about is called interoception, which is the ability to perceive and interpret signals from within our own bodies. So, like what Brandy was saying about noticing in her gut and noticing the headaches and noticing these physical
Body tension,
sensations, yeah,
yes.
body tension,
Mhm,
um, and she was able to interpret the meaning behind that and to
mhm,
map it back onto an experience instead of
mhm.
just saying like, wow, my body's just kind of out of whack, I don't know why, I guess it's fine.
Yes,
Like
yes, and I found it interesting because it's like, now I can kind of feel it coming. Now
Mhm.
I'm like, "Oh, tomorrow I'm not gonna feel so hot,"
Mhm.
and so now I can prepare for that, and there's, like, a radical acceptance that can kinda come with it where I'm like, "It's not alright and okay that I have these body sensations or this thing that's happening, but because I know I can, like,
Mhm.
alter and make some different plans,"
Yeah.
and so I think that that gives me power over it
Mhm.
instead of it controlling
Yeah.
me.
I like
And
that.
even in the moment now, I'm really good at being like, "Woo, Brandy,
Yeah.
calm your nervous
Yeah.
system, like take some big deep breaths, like get some movement in,
Mhm.
start incorporating some thoughts of like joy and
Mhm.
gratitudes and like you've been here before and everything's gonna be fine
Mhm.
and if not, then we'll deal with that when that happens. Like kind of working
Yeah.
through some of my thought processes so that I can get my body into a state where I don't have as big of after effects as I
Mhm.
once would have had.
Yeah. Whereas, like I like what you said about it giving you control over your body instead of letting your body control you. I think when we're
Mhm.
able to practice interoception, kind of identify what we're feeling in our bodies, that gives us the power to do something about it instead of just letting those sensations overwhelm us and kind of just keep us down
And
day
control
after
us.
day after day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It can help with emotional regulation, self-awareness. You can start to recognize those early signs of when you're in
Mhm.
distress, like Randy was
Mhm.
saying, so that you can then kind of do something about it, or at least understand that it's on its way.
Yeah, it's
But
coming.
but now you
Beware.
know why. Like now you know
Mhm.
why it's coming, and you're familiar with it, and you can do something about it.
I love that. And I think that this is really great to define
Hmm.
some of those things to start keeping that awareness tabs of like, oh, I recognize that when I'm feeling this way,
Yeah.
my body responds this
Yeah.
way. Or if my body's responding this way, then what must I be thinking or feeling?
Right. Yeah. My body's having a response, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like I didn't eat anything weird.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
where is it coming from?
Right.
Right.
It might be highly attached to our emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Just something to think about, something to notice in yourself. What you're feeling, and it's just a level of mindfulness and awareness that I think we forget to engage in on a daily basis,
Right.
because we're
Mhm.
just going all the time. But you can take a step back and like look inward, um, then I think it will provide some valuable insights.
I agree.
Yeah. So now, Brandy, if you would
Love
be
this.
open to it, I
I
would love
will.
to walk us
Mhm.
through a little guided body scan. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes.
Okay.
I'm going to keep mine open just so I can kind of read through these prompts here. But I want you to close your eyes and imagine a ball of light is kind of what I like to picture entering your body from the top of your head. And we're going to use this ball of light to examine our whole body and notice where we might be holding tension at this point in time. So I want you to send that ball of light into your forehead area, into the muscles in your face, and just notice if you're holding any tension there. I know we like to hold tension kind of in our forehead. So if you notice anything there, go ahead and just give it a little wiggle. See if you can let that ball of light dissolve whatever tension you're holding within the muscles in your face. And then from there, we'll go ahead and send that ball of light down into your neck and shoulders. And again, just notice anything that you might be holding in there. You need to give your head a little bit of a gentle wiggle, or roll your shoulders out a little bit to just notice any tension that you might be holding in that part of your body. It's another big one where a lot of us tend to store tension and stress. And again, just let that ball of light dissolve whatever might be coming up there. And from there, we'll continue to send the ball of light down into our chest. Go ahead and take some deep breaths here to let some of that tension go. And as we send that ball of light down into our stomach, notice the feelings and sensations there. Notice if there's anything that needs to be released or burnt off by this ball of light. And continuing down the body, we'll send it down into our arms and our hands. Notice how those are feeling. Notice if you feel the need to kind of shake out anything in your hands or in your arms. And then just keep going down the body. Notice your pelvic area, your sits bones on the seat beneath you. Notice if there's any tension that you're holding in your legs and your thighs. Anything you notice that you need to release or dissolve. And then finally, we'll just send that ball of light down through our feet and release it into the earth below us. Just sit for a minute and notice the sensations in your body now that you have sent that ball of light and dissolved any tension that you might have been holding. And when you're ready, I'll invite you to open your eyes. And I'm curious how that experience was for you. Did you notice any kind of changes in your body as you did that scan?
Yeah, it was interesting because you took me through like my forehead and then down into my facial features. And I didn't recognize at first that like I had soreness around my mouth. And it was probably from smiling this whole time on the video. And then down into my neck. And then I recognized like my upper back had some tightness. And so like it was almost like you giving me permission to like wiggle some of it out and loosen it up and to let it go was like exactly what it needed. And down in the stomach area, which I thought was kind of fascinating, so like down in the stomach area. And it was weird because my mind went to this visualization of like crackling. I don't know if you even used those words, maybe you did, but like crackling it all up and like dissolving it. And it was
like a firework.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that visual.
Baby, you're a firework. I'm just kidding.
My stomach is now.
But it was nice. It was calming. And it feels like there's more awareness around like those things that are kind of like affecting my body. Yeah. And I think that it actually let go of some of those things, which was kind of good.
That's good. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yay.
So
It worked.
But yeah, this is a good you can try it yourself at home. You don't have to be experiencing any kind of tension. It's a good thing to practice, even if you just have a minute. You can incorporate it into your daily routine or your weekly routine. It can be helpful because then your body and your brain will kind of default to that when you do have the big emotions and the big physical sensations that come from feelings of anxiety, depression, whatever it may be. If you
anxiousness and overwhelm, like we all are feeling.
We feel that all the time in the world that we live in. And so if you incorporate this as part of your daily routine, it'll be easier to practice it when you are feeling those physical sensations. So
one thing that I noticed was awesome is Jody is really great about leading us through like this mindfulness exercise. And hopefully you did it with her while she was doing it so that you could feel it. There is some great apps out there for mindfulness that you can kind of like tap into and like experience for yourself. You can become like a big eagle and as you're soaring over the mountains and you know, there's all sorts of different types. So find the type that works best for you, but to like really allow it to ground you. I find like for me, the best one that I have noticed is like just kind of running through a quick scan of my body while I'm in my car driving.
Yeah.
Like I turn off the radio and I just allow myself to do kind of a quick little body scan, recognize those parts that are tightened or the parts that maybe don't feel so great and just kind of like allow them to like release or let them go. And sometimes it's just about the awareness of the fact that I have them.
Yeah.
And then that can give me a place of like, okay, now that I know that they're here, I can do something about them. Or if I didn't know, then I can't. So that's kind of the place that I find. Some people do it at night or in the morning when they first wake up. You know, some people do it in the shower. They'll do kind of like a little body scan in the shower. Teaching your kids how to do this is so great. Kids don't learn this from anywhere else but from parents. Hopefully we integrate this more into the school systems coming. But how to do some like de-stress management through some of this this type of work with the body and the mind can be really
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
incredible. So,
And that's the beautiful thing about it is that you can make this exercise as long or as short as you need it to be.
mhm.
If if all you have is the time when you're in the shower or the time, before you get out of your car and go into work, you can do a sort of a quick abbreviated version of it. If you want to kind of sit with it for a longer time and to dive a little bit deeper, you can spend 30 minutes
Mhm.
scanning your body and releasing tension. So that's the cool thing about it is you can make it as long or as short as you need it to be in the moment that works for you. So there are lots of little exercises that you can try
Mhm.
yourself. Journaling, the experiences that you have, the physical sensations and emotions that you experience. Notice where you feel tension in your body. Can even draw like a little stick figure, a
I
little
love
body
that.
outline, and
I love that.
color in where in your body you feel tension.
Mhm.
You can do your own body scans. So there's a few little exercises for you to try yourself.
Right.
And next week, I hope you join us for our movement and anxiety part of this little course. So,
I'm excited. This is a big one.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it's a big one.
mhm.
But yeah, thank you all so much. And we'll see you next time.